Now, thanks to Air France, we've arrived in the fascinating city of Beirut a whole day later than we were supposed to. So we've got very little time here, unfortunately. I can tell you that our first impressions are that the people are super friendly and welcoming.
Very friendly, very relaxed.
Come in, sir. Don't be shy, don't be shy. Wow.
And that the food is fantastic.
The food here in Beirut is absolutely fantastic. Check. We've got whole baby red snapper, deep fried to perfection. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but it's brilliant. And everything else we had earlier. And we're right here by the sea. The warmest sea you'll ever see.
But I'm aware that this fantastic country has had its share of problems, many of them stemming from the fact that the country was created by the carve-up of the Middle East by the old European colonial powers between the two world wars, and that the affairs of the country have continued to be interfered with by France and the US since the Second World War. Now, as so often happens when old colonial nations interfere in the setting up of new states, certain groups in society were given privileges over others in the hope that those minorities in society would protect the ongoing interests of the old colonial powers. Those manufactured sectarian differences were then encouraged by the Lebanese ruling class themselves, because of course it's much easier to rule over a divided population. This, tragically, led to a 15-year-long civil war, and as if that wasn't enough, Lebanon has also faced attacks, bombardments and attempts at occupation by its neighbour to the south, Israel. I've arranged to meet up with Bassem, who is a leading member of the leftist Assembly for Change, to find out about what's going on in Lebanon at the moment. I started off by asking him about that sectarianism, which has caused so many problems here.
The bourgeoisie, to protect itself, they inject sectarianism, sectarian policies, and they try to do sectarian funding, all of these to try to push away the possible class, the development of class consciousness against them. The same. It's a defense strategy of the bourgeoisie itself against the possible class antagonisms. And right now, we have a deep economic crisis. We have different strikes and different workers' demands, and all around. Right now, there's a strike in North Lebanon, where a factory of plastic pipes its owners decided to close it and kicked everyone out of the factory without giving them the proper money that should be given. At the same time, they said that the factory is losing money, which is not actually true, because 1 month before they bought multi-million-dollar equipment with millions of dollars, and why do you want to buy new equipment if the factory is losing money? So there's an ongoing sit-in there happening, and the leftists continuously. We are going there every 2 or 3 days and standing with them, generating support, bringing them to do meetings, all of these things. But on this issue, because they're Sunnis, Hezbollah would not intervene, and also other parties would not intervene. They would leave them. At the same time, all the political parties, even the Sunni political parties, would not intervene on class issues. They would try to disconnect or marginalize class issues, not to allow it to give thanks, because class issues breaks into sectarianism. Whenever there's a rise in class struggle, there's a drop in the sectarian feeling, because people see their common interest much higher than the interests or the political interest or the sectarian interest that the bourgeoisie tries to push and the ruling class tries to push within the working class people. They directly see it quite obvious. Why should we ally ourselves with a sectarian leader, while our interest lies with other workers as well? Because when we are united, we seem to have much greater power. So that's why the left right now is important, to push away the arguments or the tactics of the ruling class to destroy class unity. Because the way they destroy class unity is through economy and through politics. They put loads of money in one sect and they leave the other sect with no money. For example, the Lebanese government, the health section is controlled by one party, so they give to its own community only the health services, or not only, but at least it's restricted for other communities, while it's more open to other communities. This is how they guarantee people continue to supporting them. And to be able to break that, you need class unity. At the same time, to sustain class unity, you need to fight against these policies on a daily basis. And to do that is the only way to actually protect the country against imperialist attacks and Israeli attacks at the same time.
So what is your vision for Lebanon and for the Middle East?
What I see, what I'm very positive about, is in the coming few years, even with the threats of another war coming, is that there is a ground for the left to grow in Lebanon and in Egypt and different areas around that. Because the nationalist movements have dropped, they have made concessions with the Israeli state on one side. At the same time, they could not deliver. The Islamic movements, although they're continuing a good resistance against the Israeli regime, but they could not answer on the economic questions, on the social questions, all of these things. And they also know that they need the left to guarantee an international and local solidarity movement that actually gives them political strength and the ability to sustain their resistance against imperialism. So there is a necessity for the left, and at the same time there is a breeding ground for the left to be able to grow. And it's only our job to actually take that role and start organizing and start working in the different parts of the country and start connecting between the different circles. I'm very positive. We're working on different campaigns right now, one which was related to secularism, one which was related with the strikes in the north happening, and also on the civil rights for Palestinian refugees in Lebanon, all of these things. And we can notice that the left has a central part in playing in all of these movements. Without the left, well, especially without the revolutionary left, these movements are not being able to grow or to sustain themselves. The revolutionary left, especially the revolutionary left, the Stalinist left has a role, it's quite big in Lebanon, but the revolutionary left is becoming essential in building the political arguments and building the tactical mechanisms that actually can build a movement and can make it wider and wider. That revolutionary left is playing a central role in developing these movements, and we're noticing that day by day. And I think there's a great potential for quite ahead. And even on a global level, you can see there's more connection between the movements. And I think everyone who is interested in that kind of building a better future around the world and in the Middle East, to start organizing and to join the different revolutionary left groups that exist, because it's time to build. We cannot wait in 100 years and then see that the whole world is destroyed because of with what the capitalists are doing all over the earth.
Bassem, it's an absolute pleasure to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
One final story before we go home from Lebanon. I spoke to a woman after the gig who works for the UN. She told me that there were over 400,000 Palestinian refugees living in refugee camps in Lebanon. Many of them have been here since they were kicked out of their homes by the Israelis in 1948. None of them are allowed to work. None of them can access Lebanese healthcare or education. None of them have a passport. That's over 400,000 people desperately waiting for their right to go home.